This episode is supported by Stamps.com, where you can buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter or package using your own computer and printer. For a 4-week trial and a special $110 bonus offer, go to Stamps.com, click on the mic, and enter the promo code Colin.
This is The Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1 in our typically chilly studio. Christine Leahy is joining us today.
Look at that fancy sweater you have. It's got lines on the inside.
A little cold today.
Great.
So we have a great show planned. I cannot wait for our show today. And I have noticed something. I don't know, Christine, when you decided this. I decided as a little kid I wanted to be in the media, about 8 years old. And about 8 years old, I knew what I wanted to do. And I was lucky. Like a lot of people, they're still 30, 40 years old. They're not quite sure what they wanted to do. And a lot of it's just luck. I figured out very early what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on TV, local news. There wasn't sports radio. I wanted to write for a newspaper. I wanted to cover sports, and I wanted to talk about sports. And so I have been part of the media. In my world, I believe I've been part of the media since I was 8. Like when I was 8 years old, I was doing play-by-play into a comb and taping it in my bedroom, and I'd go to Seattle Mariner games. So I've been about the media. I've been writing sports, talking about sports, stringing sports on the air for like a long time, right? And it was different. When I first started, like newspapers were a big deal. Like those were the people that told the truth. And TV people could be kind of clownish in characters, but like the newspaper, you always trusted. Like the newspaper guys, they had standards and they were amazing. And then as I got older and older and older, I see a lot of newspaper guys going to radio and television because they can make a lot more money, and they kind of got clownish. And I don't really buy what they're saying. They kind of dilute it, and the line gets blurry. Journalist, opinion guy, whatever. Now we're to a point now where I don't trust the newspapers. So it went from the newspapers I trusted to a lot of the newspaper people I didn't trust. Now I trust them less than anybody because they are so in the tank on one side or the other, especially in politics. I don't even trust them. I mean, I literally wake up and I look at the media now and I have distrust for it because I think they over-dramatize everything. And it's just ridiculous. Politically, it's ridiculous. But I see it all the time. Y2K. The Rio Games, the sports media. The Rio Games are going to be a catastrophe. The Rio Games going to be crime and there's pollution. The only problem, Ryan Lochte, a swimmer, got drunk. That was the biggest disaster at the Rio Games. The bird flu was going to end the world. Donald Trump's president, stock market will crash. That's funny, it's up. And I just talked to my broker yesterday. They think it's going to go up for another 9 months. Okay, so yeah, here is the latest where I don't think the media, I think they have an agenda, and they're not telling you the truth on these Thursday night games. So tomorrow the Raiders play the Chiefs. These Thursday night games are bad. These games are bad. They are terrible games. The players are in great danger. Terrible, terrible games. The NFL, by the way, heard a story last week on a website and said, no, we're going to keep playing these Thursday night games. We're going to keep playing them. Here's the truth about these Thursday night games. They're not bad. By the way, don't we love Thanksgiving games every year? All 3 of those games on Thursday? We never complained about those. Now, one of the reasons we didn't complain about those because we were eating delicious food and taking 2-hour naps. That tryptophan thing. But we love Thursday games. We never worried about the player safety then, did we? Everybody tells you they care about the player safety. You've never once in your life bet in a football game concerned about the future of a guy's family. You've never once put a guy in your fantasy team caring about his health. Stop it. You don't care about the player's health. You want to win games, bet games, watch games, have your team win and feel better about yourself. You don't care about their families. That's a separate issue. They care about their families, and that's fine, and their health, that's fine. But you don't care about the NFL insurance issues. That's baloney. Nobody cares about that except players, and players should care about it. So let's just talk about the football on Thursday that's so terrible, because that now is the media story. Raiders, Chiefs will be a terrible football game. Well, once again, the lazy media actually doesn't do any homework on this. Here's what's interesting about the Thursday games. They're no worse than the Sunday games. If I told you what's a bad football game, you would say inefficient quarterback play and full of penalties. Nobody wants to watch a penalty choke football game and bad quarterback play. Let's compare Thursday night games to Sunday night games. Thursday night football games have a higher completion percentage. More passes are completed. There is a higher passer rating on Thursday night. And there's significantly fewer penalties. Well, what do you know? What do you know? And the Thursday night games are always rivalry games, almost always, because the league wants to make the trips, the flights closer. So teams don't need to prepare. There's a reason the Jets seemingly always play the Patriots close, even though the Patriots are great and the Jets are a grease fire, because they play them twice a year. They know their personnel. There's a reason why a Cincinnati-Cleveland game this weekend, though Cincinnati's got much better players, Vegas has it as like a 5-point spread, because Cleveland knows Cincinnati's players and coaches and schemes and habits. So you get these rivalry games. You don't always on Sunday. The games are closer, there's fewer penalties, and the passer rating and completion percentage is higher. Well, the safety of the players. The NFL doesn't even allow pads much anymore. So you just have less pads during the practice. They don't ask teams to do it 2 and 3 and 4 times. Asking everybody to do it one time. And I went to the NFL Sunday games, which are so great because the Thursday games are so bad. By the way, 5 of the Thursday games have been decided by one possession. Of the 12, 5 of the 12, 40%, one possession. That's better than the league average. But 3 weeks ago, I watched Pittsburgh and Cleveland play, and the Giants and the Bears play, and Miami and the Rams play, and New England and San Francisco play. Games were unwatchable. And I watched virtually every NFL game, at least parts of it. 2 weeks ago, I watched Atlanta, Arizona. Falcons didn't show up. The Giants, Cleveland, unwatchable. New Orleans, Rams, embarrassing. Tampa, Seattle was 14-5. And then I watched the Packers play the Eagles on Monday night. Philadelphia was a mess. Last weekend, I watched Baltimore at Miami. Did Miami practice? I watched Seattle at Carolina. Did Carolina practice? I watched Indianapolis at the Jets this past Monday. Did the Jets even practice? This is the classic example because the game is sitting by itself. We are in the media overly criticizing. It's the same reason when you get on a flight and there's an Adam Sandler movie on a flight, and they're all bad. But on a flight, you're kid crying behind you, guy smells next to you, you're sitting on a flight, you're bored out of your mind, 33,000 feet, 3-hour flight, you put on an Adam Sandler movie, and you're like, oh, that's kind of entertaining. But if you paid $20 to go watch a Sandler movie, and you paid for parking, and you drove across town, and you watched an Adam Sandler movie, you're like, this is garbage. It's the perception. It's why movies, we are much more tolerant of a movie on a flight. You wouldn't pay to watch that movie on a flight. You wouldn't drop $20 to watch a movie on that flight. If you watch that movie on a flight, you're almost always like, that wasn't terrible. Oh, what'd you watch? Oh, yeah, I watched an Adam Sandler movie. Oh, I feel bad for you. No, isn't that bad. But you never pay to go to the theater. We are overly criticizing Y2K, Rio Olympics, over-dramatizing. This Thursday game is going to be a real good football game. And it's going to have playoff implications. And you're going to get 2 really good quarterbacks. And I think Derek Carr, the greatest young quarterback in the league. And everybody's complaining and wants to get rid of Thursday night football. I'm a consumer. I wake up tomorrow morning knowing my Thursday night, I got to sit home, have a Corona, make some home nachos, and watch an NFL football game with playoff implications and the best young star in the game, Derek Carr. It's amazing. I mean, it's like, I don't know if it's clickbait. I don't know what it is. These Thursday night games are close. They're rivalry games. The passing is better. The completion is better. The penalties are less, and they're more rivalry games. And if you watch Sunday games like I do, about a third of them are garbage every week. Unwatchable. I mean, you saw the games this week. There were 4 teams that didn't look like they practiced. Carolina, Miami, the Jets, Chicago, San Francisco. Did they practice? Those games were awful. This won't be awful. It'll be a good football game.
What's a home nacho?
Oh, the best. Now, when home nachos are kind of sloppy,
I've never heard of this thing.
You never do? You never make nachos at home?
Well, yeah, but I don't name them a home nacho.
Well, I call them home nachos. Road nachos and home nachos. Home nachos are nachos, a lot of cheese, sauce, cut up a little pepper, maybe, they're not as good as like a restaurant nacho. They're a home nacho. Microwave them, sizzling.
They're not lazy nachos. They're not just chips and cheese in the microwave.
No,
they're
not
real nachos.
No, they're home nachos. Road nachos are better than home nachos.
Okay.
Road nachos, a restaurant, they've got peppered chicken, and they got multiple slices of peppers, and it's a home nacho. You've never made a home nacho?
I've made nachos at home, but I never named them a home nacho.
Okay.
Or a road nacho.
Yeah, they're that's what they
Maybe
are.
I'll have some tonight in honor of you.
Home nachos.
No, a road nacho.
You're going to the NBA game tonight.
The Warriors game, against the
I'm thinking
Clippers.
about going. I'm not sure yet.
What's going to make your decision?
I don't know. I just may want to go
A
home.
little past your bedtime, isn't it?
It is. I'll get home at like 9:40. I'll get home at 10:45.
That's pretty late.
That's late for me. My cat wakes me up at 5 in the morning every morning.
I heard on your head.
On my head.
Morning.
Wake up, cats in the head purring. So I'm up at 5 regardless of whether I want to be.
Right.
Hi, it's the Herd. Listen, the holidays are officially here. You do not have time to go to the post office. First of all, it's going to be packed. This is the time of the year everybody mails holiday gifts and all their packages. So do what we do at the Herd. Use Stamps.com instead. Avoid the hassle of going to the post office during the busiest time of the year. Is it me or does every post office have like 3 parking spaces? And generally, there's a mail truck parking in one of them. Everything you would do at the post office, you can do right from your desk. You can buy and print official U.S. postage, use your own computer and printer. You can print postage for any letter or package the instant you need it. Then the mailman picks it up. And you'll get discounts you won't find at the post office. That's key. Perfect for small businesses. Right now, sign up Stamps.com, use the promo code HERD, and get a 4-week trial special offer, plus a $110 bonus offer, including postage and a digital scale. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com before you do anything else. Click on the mic, put in HERD. Stamps.com, enter HERD.
Willie Taggart hired as Oregon's head coach. Solid hire. He's not going to get it to Chip Kelly's level. Coached at Stanford. Good recruiter. Been a head coach twice. Solid record. But remember, Oregon was a 7.5 win program. Phil Knight arrived, turned it into a 9.5 win program. Chip Kelly arrived on top of that branding and made it a 12 win program. Willie Taggart's going to run a pro-style offense similar to Washington or USC, but Washington and USC will have better players. So he'll be a nice guy. He'll come in. He can recruit. He'll create a nice offense. Oregon will have stability and a real head coach. But in the end, the only time Oregon in a state with no players has ever exploded was when you combined the great branding of Phil Knight and Nike with the revolutionary coaching of Chip Kelly. Willie Taggart's not a revolutionary coach. He's a solid football coach, pro-style offense, run downhill. They'll win a bunch of games. But every program has a set number of wins unless there are game changers. Oregon's about a 7-win program. Phil Knight makes it a 9 to 9.5 with his branding. Chip Kelly took 9.5 to about 12 with exceptional coaching. They're not going to be a 12-win program. Washington, USC run the same offense they're going to largely run with better personnel because the state of Washington's got more good players. Peterson's a world-class coach, and USC is sitting in the richest area, Denver West, in recruiting. So I think it's a good hire. It's a stable hire. It's a solid hire. They'll win a bunch of games. They'll be closer to Mike Bellotti than Chip Kelly, which is 9 to 8.5, 9.5 wins. So I'm happy for Oregon. I don't think it's a game changer. And I think Washington and USC are breathing a sigh of relief that Tom Herman and that wild offense didn't end up there because that's what scared people. So Jerry Jones is the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. And Jerry Jones always been known as a player's coach. Jerry Jones, players coach. Everybody likes Jerry. Players like Jerry. Doors open with Jerry. You can always talk business with Jerry. He's helped guys out, giving them loans. Very, very nice guy, Jerry Jones. But Jerry Jones, the problem is Jerry Jones is now sounding like a friend and not a businessman. And Jerry got rich and was able to buy the Cowboys, not because he was a friend, but because he was a businessman. And Jerry made this Cowboys team good because he gave Stephen Jones, his son, more power and wasn't a friend. He was a businessman. When Jerry's lean business, he's done well. When Jerry's thought about fun and vanity and friendship, he gets in trouble. Okay, when Jerry lets his ego and personalities get involved, he's in trouble. When he got his ego and personality got involved with Jimmy Johnson, they went from great to he's out of town. When he let his ego and his personality get in the way of Parcells, Parcells left town. Jerry's best doing business. He's a businessman, and he's a great businessman. But yesterday he's talking about Tony Romo, and playing Tony Romo, and listen to what Jerry Jones, business guy, said.
I want to do what gives us the best chance to have Tony contribute to a championship.
That's friendship. That's not football. That's not business. That's not business. That is, I want to somehow insert Tony Romo into our championship run. You're doing that for friendship. You're not doing that for football. Just get out of the way. Because remember, Tony Romo stood in front of a podium 4 or 5 weeks ago and conceded that the team was no longer his.
You aren't handed anything. You earn everything, every single day, over and over again. You have to prove it. That's the way that the NFL, that's the way that football works. A great example of this is Dak Prescott and what he's done. He's earned the right to be our quarterback. As hard as that is for me to say, he's earned that right. What is clear is that I was that kid once. I remember the feeling like it was yesterday. It really is an incredible time in your life.
It's like past tense. So Tony's acknowledging, it ain't my franchise. It's not my team anymore. My run's over. In fact, a lot of people came out and criticized Tony for relinquishing it so publicly. I didn't, but many did. And yet Jerry comes out yesterday. Can you imagine Bill Belichick if Garoppolo took over and they were on a winning streak and he'd played so well and Brady was behind him because he got hurt again, and Belichick saying this?
I want to do what gives us the best chance to have Tony contribute to a championship.
What? Belichick in 1,000 years wouldn't say that. Tony had his run. I love Tony. Tony got hurt. Dak came in. Dak is great. Get back to football and get back to business, because that's what Jerry Jones is unbelievable at. That's friendship talk. Nick Saban doesn't have any friends. Belichick not worried about friends. Popovich not worried about friends. Come on. Let's stay on the business stuff. You got rich, Jerry, because of business, not because you made a bunch of friends. Your Cowboys are now legitimate because you got out of the friendship business and you relinquished all the goofiness and you let Steven do the football stuff, and you have a great roster. And I love Tony, but don't look for ways to get Tony inserted into the championship run. If you're going to play Tony, play him week 16 to showcase his talent for other teams so you can trade him. That I agree with. Don't try to insert him into the playoff run because you like him. And I really like Tony Romo. I think he's a borderline Hall of Famer. Hi, it's the Herd. Listen, I've always known that Perky Jerky makes the best tasting jerky on earth. That's why I invested in the company. But don't take my word for it. Now the folks at Perky Jerky have proof. In a blind taste test of the top 4 selling beef jerky brands, people prefer the taste of Perky Jerky. And not just prefer the taste, by a 2-to-1 margin over other jerky brands. But you already knew that. In fact, Perky Jerky is so confident that you'll love it, they have a money-back guarantee. If you don't think it's the best jerky you've had, get your money back. So what do you have to lose? Pick up Perky Jerky at Walmart, Kroger, Costco, or Whole Foods. Let's bring in Chris Broussard, who's got his own Fox Sports radio show Saturday, 5 to 8 Pacific. So I floated something today with my staff, and they just looked at me like I was an alien. Now, you've heard of the Illuminati.
Yes.
For young,
I'm big into the Illuminati.
Are you really?
So explain.
But I've heard of it.
Explain what the Illuminati is to young people listening.
Oh,
It's a series of powerful men.
Conspiracy theories about this group of powerful people in Hollywood and throughout the world that run everything, right? That's pretty much it.
They dictate policy. They dictate everything shy of interest rates, or maybe they do. That there's this powerful group of 20, 30 people. George Soros has always been talked about. There's people in Hollywood. I've always had a theory. I'm going to introduce you to what I call the NBA Illuminati. Okay, so I said this to my staff.
I can't wait to see this.
Okay. That the NBA has always been controlled by about 8 people. The commissioner, a power broker, used to be Jerry Colangelo, now it's Wild. What's the World Wide West?
Oh, World Wide West.
Okay. The 2 top agents, one of them Steve Bartlestein.
You mean Mark
Bartlestein. So right now it would be Adam Silver, World Wide West, the 2 top agents, the CEO of Nike, and Kevin Plank, the CEO of Under Armour, and the 4 players. Now, they're not necessarily the 4 best players, but they're the 4 global players. LeBron, D. Wade. They have influence among other players. Chris Paul, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Dwayne Wade. They're not the best players. James Harden's better than some. Westbrook's better. They're not shifting policy. And I've always believed this to be true, that the head of Nike, the Adidas's, the commissioner, it is unspoken, They don't need to meet. There's not constant texting. But between Worldwide Wes, LeBron, his people, the commissioner, there's an understanding of where the league should go. And I believe, this is why we got into this discussion this morning, Chris Broussard. You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not feeling this. But go ahead.
Here's my theory. So as everybody talks about Westbrook, that LeBron and the league leaders look at this and think dynamic and fun. He's not part of it. Iverson was never part of it. There are great players in this league that will never dictate the league, and that Westbrook is becoming Iverson. A fireworks show. We're in awe of it. But the agents will not direct Blake Griffin to him. They will not direct power to him. Am I out of my gourd? I think this is remarkable.
Absolutely, positively out of your mind. You know what this is becoming? You and Westbrook. This is the equivalent of the Skip Bayless, LeBron, James feud, if you will.
I don't have a feud.
You are killing Westbrook.
Yes.
Now, Westbrook, look, there's no Illuminati. There's no NBA Illuminati. All right? What it is, LeBron James is the most powerful NBA player ever, including Michael Jordan. Because right now, LeBron is a business mogul. And he is impacting things, and other players are seeing, he has wielded power that we've never seen a player wield.
Agree.
Like when he left Cleveland, people were looking at, he just wants to go to Miami and win. He was looking at it like, if the owner traded me or someone else, nobody would blink an eye. Why can he decide to pick a team, but I can't decide to pick a team?
That's why I
make my own
defended
destiny?
him. Totally agree.
And look at what happened. I don't think Carmelo Anthony necessarily leaves Denver if LeBron hadn't done what he did.
It changed the way the world works.
And most guys, it didn't work out for. Dwight Howard.
Sounds a little like NBA Illuminati.
But it's just him. It's just him. Like, he was taught growing up by his youth coach, who later became one of his high school coaches, Drew Joyce. He was taught, don't let the game of basketball use you. You use the game of basketball.
Who was taught that?
LeBron.
I like that.
Yeah, and you look at his career. That is exactly what he's done. He owns Manchester United. He's got, Spring Hill Entertainment with Maverick Carter. He's, I think he's going to end up owning the Cleveland Cavaliers when he's done playing. He's got all types of businesses, and he used basketball to get those. The credit to him is that he did it without sacrificing his game. And other players, Westbrook included, they just look at, I'm a basketball player.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's what I keep telling Christine, is Westbrook, and it's not that.
But I think that's how most of them look at it. I think Jordan looked at it that way.
Well, I think
he had great people around him that obviously he was so great, and he got all these deals.
I think LeBron looks at Westbrook and inside knows, come on, you're not changing policy. I'm changing the world. He's changing the scoreboard.
LeBron is thinking like that?
I think LeBron.
No. LeBron's probably thinking right now about what he's having for lunch and who he's going to play later
I think
today.
LeBron thinks about big social global issues all the time. That's what I think.
He does, and that's unique about him. But I think Westbrook is more like the typical player, even the typical superstar player. And look, Westbrook's brand is not suffering at all. He has a deal with Barney's. What's his commercial? Is it Mountain Dew? That he's always in those crazy green commercials and all, he's got plenty. Subway, I think he's got plenty of endorsement deals. He's bigger than most players in that group of four that you mentioned.
Yeah.
He's bigger than all of them except LeBron.
So you really think it's like LeBron and Skip, and I am that to Westbrook?
It's becoming that.
It's becoming that. What, 2 weeks? He's been on that for 12 years.
I'm predicting it. I'm calling it out. That's all.
I battle him every day on Westbrook.
And now you're creating conspiracies.
Yeah. The only way you could win the argument, was the Illuminati.
This is the Herd Podcast.
You look at all these young quarterbacks, and it sort of changes the way I said of Cam Newton. Is that, like, Cam broke in with Andrew Luck. And then they were going to be the next big stars. And then Russell Wilson kind of came from nowhere. And they all had different paths. Like Cam went junior college. Luck was a Stanford guy. Dad played in the NFL. Then Russell Wilson was a third rounder. He was too small. And just like life, everybody has a different path to their success, right? But it's funny because with all these young quarterbacks out there, Jameis Winston throws a better ball to me than Cam Newton, and I think he's going to be a star. Marcus Mariota is really, really good. Dak Prescott shocked me. Biggest whiff in my radio career. I can't believe how good he is. I can't believe how good he is. And then you have Derek Carr. And I'm not even counting Carson Wentz, who I think is going to be really good, but he's struggling now, so everybody's like, whoa. I'm not counting Paxton Lynch, Jared Goff. We haven't seen enough. But what's happened is that with all the ascension of these young guys now in their second year or third year, I look at Cam Newton differently. And it's funny, I've always thought that a coach, let's talk college football, I've always believed at a traditional power, Texas, USC, Ohio State, you give a coach to the middle of his second year. By the middle of his second year, if they're not getting better, we've got a problem. At the average program, whatever that program is, Iowa or whatever the program is, you name the program. I'm talking at 10 to 12 traditional powers. I want to see by the middle of the second year, Pete Carroll hit middle of second year at USC. You're like, okay, they've got a point of view. They play with a purpose. I'm seeing improvement. That was Charlie Strong's problem. It wasn't that he couldn't recruit, but like year 2, they beat Oklahoma. Year 3, they lost to Kansas. When it's all said and done, like, what are they? I couldn't figure them out offensively. He's a defensive coach. The defense got worse. But in the NFL, so I've always done that with coaches. Here's a timeline. With quarterbacks, similarly, I kind of believe that you got to kind of see something by the middle of the second year, right? Like if a guy's got it or he doesn't, like Andrew Luck was better than most, but he threw a lot of picks in his first year. But by the middle of his second year with Andrew Luck, you're like, oh, okay. By the middle of Russell Wilson's second year, he started doing things like other guys couldn't do. And that's what's funny about Cam Newton. By the middle of his second year, it was the same as the middle of his third year and the middle of his fourth year. He was like 58% completion, wildly inconsistent, kind of moody, better player if he won, moody player if he lost. I think that's always been my problem with Cam Newton, is that he's an average quarterback who had an exceptional year. He's the Derrick Rose of the NFL. Overstated, but did have an exceptional year. I tend to be a consistent guy. But last hour, Peter Schrager came on, and this really would bother me. So he had to sit out Cam Newton the first series of last week's game against Seattle. And it was for something I didn't think was a big deal. He didn't wear a tie. Well, he's 6'6". Carolina was on the road for 10 days. I have trouble packing for a weekend. To go on the road for 10 days, if you're 6'6", 250, you can't just walk into a Nordstrom and get stuff that fits you. If you're 6'6", 250 as a guy, I'm skinny, and it can be hard to find. I have wide feet, so it's hard to find shoes that fit. 6'6", 260 guys, nothing comes off the rack and fits you. So I figured that Cam didn't wear a tie, couldn't find a shirt, and I'm defending him. He was on the road for 10 days. Then Peter Schrager an hour ago says that's not what happened. Here's what happened.
On Saturday night before the game, Ron Rivera told him, if you don't wear a tie to the game, I'm going to bench you for the first series. Cam Newton heard this, slept on it, and showed up on Sunday without a tie on. But big picture, what's that tell you about his respect for his head coach? And then moving forward, what's the rest of the team think when Cam shows up without that tie? So it's bad for Cam, obviously, but if I'm Ron Rivera, who's a military guy, Buddy Ryan guy, right? Like discipline, where do you go from here? Because he just in front of everybody told the rest of the team, yeah, I don't care. This is how much I respect him. I'm not going to do it anyway.
That's a different story. That is, everybody knew the game, you knew the game, and you decided to be in insubordination with your boss. That's different so I defended Cam. I'm like, big guy on the road, couldn't get a tie. 2, coach said, get a tie. If you don't, I can't start you. Cam shows up and says, I'm not wearing a tie, bro. That's a problem. That is a major I told you, Christine, it'd be one thing if our boss said, don't forget to wear that military pin to respect the military. And you just forgot it. You're like, oh my God, it's on my other blouse or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or he said, here's the pin, wear this tomorrow. You wore the blouse to work and took it off to send a message to our bosses. That is insubordination. That's where I'd have no problem bosses saying, now you're disrupting the chemistry of our team. You're showing lack of respect. That's what you have to at least respect your bosses.
See, I think what you're missing here is also that it's not that he just lost his tie or couldn't get one at the local store. Look at the way that Cam Newton dresses.
Right.
He very carefully plans out what he's wearing, especially on game day. So I guarantee you he had an outfit planned for every day. And I bet you that his outfit that he had planned for that day did not include a tie. Ron Rivera found out about it and said, no, you need to wear a tie, figure out how to make your outfit have a tie.
Right.
And yeah, Cam Newton just decided,
So
no, I
what
like
is
my
that?
outfit.
What did I say yesterday? The kind of guys I like. They're habit guys and they care about the right stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he's more concerned about his wardrobe.
No, that's just a thing. A lot of guys are into their wardrobe. I'm not defending him, but
Well,
I think that's... I'm not knocking him for caring about his wardrobe.
Would Tom Brady figure out a way to wear a tie?
Yes, but Tom Brady also, by the way, cares about his wardrobe.
Okay,
Everything is
but
planned
he
out.
would figure out a way to wear a tie. He would
Yes.
figure out a way to make it work.
Yes.
Of course he would. So would Russell Wilson. So would Andrew Luck. So they would figure out ways to wear a tie.
But I also don't think that Bill Belichick would enforce a rule like that.
But they wouldn't do the action of insubordination. Like I've always heard from a very reliable source that Mike Shula is not just a coach. He's dealing with Cam a lot more issues than that. He's a different guy. You're dealing with some stuff with Cam. I think this is the end of Cam and Ron Rivera. And for the record, it may be best for both. Shula may get the job, and Cam would probably like that. Shula, Cam's coordinator, could be elevated to head coach. I think Cam may want that. He may want an offensive head coach because the military guy, the coach may not defensive guy.
Exactly.
But for Ron Rivera, frankly, he'll get another head job. It may be best for him. I think the optics of Cam are greater than the reality of Cam. At the college and high school level, you can win on talent. I mean, Cam in high school, Cam in college. You remember the SEC year? I mean, he's just running over people. I mean, there's a run, Auburn against LSU. I remember this run. Cam's, and all those LSU guys are NFL players. He's just running through people. At the NFL level, coaching matters and maturity matters. Colin Kaepernick, high school, college, he's 6'5", he's 240, and he runs a 4.4. Who's going to catch him in his conference? But the reality is the NFL is asking for more from their quarterback. And I don't think Cam can provide that. I think he provides the high school, college talent, but I think his talent is hit a wall. He's taken a lot of shots, and I think Ron Rivera's sitting there thinking, I know what I got here. I can get a job with a quarterback who listens to me.
I don't know. I think this might have exposed some of the problem all season is that the two of them really just don't mesh.
They don't mesh.
And Cam Newton was probably standing on the sidelines during that interception with a big smile on his face.
Here is Cam on Monday explaining the wardrobe, not wardrobe malfunction. That was somebody else. Here's him explaining the wardrobe.
I should have just cleared it first. And by the time everything happened, it was just, I was off guard with, minutes prior to the bus leaving, and I didn't have nothing like to change into, as well as, me and my size. It's other people on the team. A person may be thinking, well, why didn't you get nobody's shirt on the team? We've been in California for a week, and we shipped our clothes off. So that was the big no-no.
See, now I defended him when he said that, and then I found out. The other story. But that's like that's like Dak and Zeke having I don't really care mostly what players wear to games and what they drink. Mm-hmm. I have no problem with players going out and partying as long as it's not the night before the Super Bowl. But if on Super Bowl week on Tuesday night, if you went out and let's say the Super Bowl's in Miami and you played in Miami and you went out with family and a friend and you knocked down 7 cocktails. Even at that, I'm okay. You're 23. You'll rebound nice. Like Zeke and Dak partying in Dallas is of no consequence to me. I couldn't care less. And also, as you said, they played Thursday, so they had extra days off. I don't care what players do. And I also don't care what they wear to games. I do care that the coach says, do this, and you knowingly don't do it. That's a whole different ballgame.
Catch the Herd from noon to 3 Eastern on iHeartRadio and FS1.
John Middlecoff is a former NFL scout who I lean on and a Bay Area radio TV host. John, not only do you cover the Raiders and the Niners, and both going in opposite directions are fascinating stories, but you know more. You told me recently that Derek Carr, you knew him in Fresno. Was he in the region you had to scout?
Well, I was actually a graduate assistant before I worked in the NFL, and my second year there was Derek's freshman year. So my first year was during the recruiting process. Now, he was already committed by the time I worked there. But, I've listened to you this football season talk about Derek, and the thing I knew before I ever worked in the NFL, just being around a 17-year-old, 18-year-old Derek, is his personality is pretty special. There's a galvanizing element to him that he used to help us recruit. He wasn't even playing, and we would bring wide receivers, specifically wide receivers, and he would host them on recruiting visits. He would always on game day, he was a backup his true freshman year. He wasn't even the starter, and he would always come over and warm-ups and talk to players that at the time were committed to Cal, committed to San Diego State, committed to Washington State. I mean, schools that usually guys would go to over Fresno State, and he got them to flip because he was all in. And that's to me, one of his best qualities is stuff not his physical attributes on the field, but the stuff off the field that just really comes naturally. You talk a lot about there's some frauds in the NFL. That's not Derek at all.
It is interesting. I don't remember a ton of his college career because I remember Boise State being the team Fresno State couldn't get past. How great was Derek Carr in college?
I think he by no means is what we're watching these last 2 years. I think he relied on his big arm. He had Devontae Adams that's slowly but surely becoming a star for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. And they really just kind of played alley-oop football. I mean, he would just throw go routes. Devontae was bigger, stronger than everyone, especially in that conference, and he would just score every time. He played with some other really good receivers, too. He was just so much physically more gifted and just better than a lot of his opponents. And I know that FC game comes up. He wasn't playing with any NFL offensive linemen, and his defense was terrible. So they were just in a lot of, 50 to 45 shootout. I mean, most of their games look like the Big 12. He's come a long way, and the coaching improved. I mean, once Pat Hill got fired, they had a new coaching staff come in. They ran the spread offense, so Derek just did what he was told. I think since he's been around NFL coaching, and, again, one of his best attributes is being receptive to coaching. He likes being coached, and it's pretty obvious. You just watch him play. He's gotten dramatically better in the last couple of years because he listens to coaching.
Yeah, John Middlecoff, former NFL scout guy I lean on. Now, they end the season at Kansas City, at San Diego, Colts, at Denver. Could I make the argument they have peaked and it could be a bumpy last month?
Yeah, I mean, this game's big, Colin. I think you win this. You don't officially win the division, but you might as well hand out halves. I mean, the division's over. You'll have a 2-game lead. You'll split. You'll really just have to probably win one of the last 3, and you're in. You lose this, I think the Chiefs are going to win the division. And as great as this season's been, you're looking at a 5th or 6th seed, and you're going to have to go on the road. So to me, I have no clue how this thing's going to look tomorrow, but it's kind of weird for as great as they've been, and the bar's been so low with this organization. I mean, they've been so terrible for so long, and they're 10-2, and you just say you're 10-2 in the NFL. I don't care how it looks. That's an incredible record. That you lose this game, it'll feel like they're 7-5 because they'll be at a huge disadvantage of the Chiefs of winning the division. And then, I'm an Andrew Luck guy like you are. I mean, he could come into Oakland and win that game. San Diego might be the best bad team we've ever seen. And then on the road to Denver to end the season, I would imagine that'll be snowing, flurries, windy. That's not an easy place to win. So to me, the season, as crazy as it sounds, because they're 10-2, that the season is kind of in the balance tomorrow in Kansas City.
John Middlecoff, former Scout Bay Area TV radio host. I want to shift to the Niners. Chip Kelly said, I'm not going back to Oregon. I totally understand that. They hired the very capable Willie Taggart today. When you look at Chip Kelly, now Jed York situation, Trent Baalke, Chip Kelly, this has obviously been a mess. Master plan, maybe he doesn't want to be good. He wants to get Deshaun Watson. He's been in the NFL now 4 years, and he knows you can't win without a good quarterback. Even Belichick couldn't. Do you think Chip has a master plan that he doesn't? This season he's been assured he gets 2 to 3 season. He just wants to be in a top 3 or 4 team and get a quarterback. Is it possible Chip really doesn't care about this year, and it's about accumulating more good picks?
No, I've been around him enough. And just know people that have been around him every day. That's not the way he thinks. He's trying to win all these games. And to me, that's a little alarming. Listen, I was a big Chip Kelly fan when he first came in the league. Watched him, what he did at Oregon was incredible. I thought, and I was in the meeting, Colin, when he first showed up in Philadelphia and said, it does not matter what quarterback you give me, I will adapt my offense to him. So we thought, hell, he could coach a Tom Brady or he could coach a Colin Kaepernick. The offense will be molded around him. But he never changed his offense. And last week in Chicago, and I know it was snowing and the game didn't matter, Chip's trying to win all these games. Like, he's game planning to win. He's not worried about the draft. That's just not the way he thinks. His offense has never changed. And I talked to a buddy on the Bears. They knew what was coming. He kept running the zone read with Kaepernick, and there were multiple defenders just waiting there to tackle him. He can't coach. He doesn't do anything else. Like the Raiders, for example, they have those plays in the playbook. They also have traditional power in the playbook. They can go under center. They can go in shotgun. Chip can only go in the shotgun spread formation. That's all he has. And I think his lack of kind of progression and growth in the league has really – I'm at the point now where I just view him like he's going to end up in college. Whether Jed fires him this year or fires him next year, it's not working. Like, he's not meant for the NFL. And it was strictly because clearly you've talked to him. He's really smart. His offense hasn't adapted. And that's originally why he came into the league, because he was such a progressive offensive genius. And he just never changed. And in this league, these guys spend way too much time in the film room. The defensive coordinators get paid too much. You have to change. You have to adapt. Just like players, coaches have to too. And he never did. And I think that if it's not this year, I don't think they'll fire him this year, even though I will not crush Jed York if he fires him. I don't think Chip's going to – he doesn't work in the NFL. He's been exposed, and he's refused to change. That if it's not this year, it's next year.
And finally, John Middlecoff, former NFL scout. We know that San Francisco doesn't even lean left; it tilts strongly left.
Oh,
and
major.
So the Kaepernick situation would be intolerable, perhaps in a Tampa or a Dallas, a conservative city. But dissent is part of the nature and tapestry of San Francisco. That said, what's the takeaway today about Kaepernick in the Bay Area?
I think you could ask 50 people on the streets and you get 50 different opinions. I think he's been such a roller coaster ride with his opinions. I think most people, once they took a deep breath, understood what he was fighting for when he took the knee. Even if you're the most pro-military or pro-patriot, you understood it once you kind of heard his explanation. But then, a couple weeks ago with the Castro comments and trying to justify that Castro did good things, most people are like, Colin, if you knelt in Cuba, they would have killed you. What are you talking about? So he's kind of been a walking hypocrite on some of the stuff. And then he didn't vote. Not that his vote would have influenced America, but it was just, and some of the props in California were for, prison, like changing in the prison system, medical marijuana, things that affected the stuff that he had openly talked about that he was fighting for. And I think people really struggled with his consistency of message and then his play so up and down. I think a lot of people are just kind of over Kaepernick, just kind of Kaepernicked out. And I think at the end of the season, it feels like about 2 years too late. But I think it's just time for the Bay Area and Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers just to all go their separate ways and just get a fresh start.